the increasing abuse of drugs and illicit substances continue to be great concerns for government all over the world.
It poses a serious challenge in Nigeria here and is a threat to the future of other youth with their desire to get high on substances like alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, heroin, and medications such as painkillers and cough syrups. The list goes on and on. Well, despite intensifying condemnation of the use of harmful drugs and campaign on the dangers of drug abuse, there seems to be more questions than answers surrounding this persistent problem.
Now, the United Nations says more than 22% of Nigerians are reported to smoke marijuana, just one out of a growing number of substances commonly being abused in the country. Now, drug abuse has arguably contributed to a spike in crime rate in recent times. Right, we still have Chris Nwandu with us in the studio, but joining us right now we have another Chris, Chris Ibe. He's the Executive Director and founder of African Youth Initiative on Crime Prevention. Chris, good morning.
Thank you, Mike.
Nice to see you. So we have the two Chris's in the studio. That's interesting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's nice
Okay.
to have you.
Now, Chris Ibe, let me start with you here. The issue of crime and drug abuse. A lot of times there has been a relationship or a link between crime rate rather, and drug abuse. Talk to us about that. What do we have these numbers increasing, or we're just getting to know more about how it operates?
Once again, Mike, thanks for having me here. We are aware that crime is part of the society, but what we now look at is what motivates crime to a large extent. You know, that is where you talk about the influence of drugs among young people, or even some elderly, you know, because of its motivating factor, influencing factor. The fact remains that for most people that kills, most people that goes into all manner of crimes, in good conscience and a sane mentality, they can't just go into that. Okay. You see, for young people who are into cultism, especially you talk about the Boko Haram, the terrorist activities in the Northeast. You can't give a sane young man a knife to cut off the throat of somebody. Give him a knife or a gun to shoot the mother or shoot the brother. You now see that after taking these drugs, there is a distortion in the thinking pattern, and that kind of reduce the humanistic aspect of thinking, you know, thereby giving them the kind of fake beliefs, you know, to carry such activities. There is an established relationship between drugs and crime.
Okay.
And then, how do we even do this now? Chris. But then let me turn to the other Chris.
There's Chris Nwandu, there's Chris Ibe.
All right, Chris too, in this instance now. Yeah. But then the worrying trend in, you know, the spate of drug abuse in Nigeria now is also the fact that it's readily available. Yeah. We're not talking about marijuana or, you know, those, you know, drugs up there. We're talking about, you know, codeine. We're talking about somebody is mentioning lizard waste and all that. These are things, as in things that are readily available. Yeah. How do you combat a problem like this?
It's a societal ill. It's a societal ill. First and foremost, it's just quite unfortunate that so many of our youths have taken to drugs. And it's not only youth this time around, because we continue staying youth, and even adults, okay, are really abusing drugs. The high-profile ones, most often than not, cannot be afforded by certain category of people. You talk of heroin, you talk of cocaine and the rest of them. Those are high-level drugs that at times might not. That is why people, some of them have now gone down, way back to look for alternative to some of these things. Marijuana has been with us, which we call Igbo. You know, it has been with us for long. Then this latest one, where you see people now smoking codeine. Not only codeine, there are other substances that they, in fact, you won't believe it, that even they've gone as far as the latest ones that we know of is that they even go to pit toilets. Those substances, yes. So I was shocked one day when somewhere in Abuja, somewhere around Kado Estates, and I saw some young people, these guys are just between about 15, school children, between the ages of about 14 and 15, top 16, somewhere, and I just saw them pouring some substances in the midst and rapping, and then I just moved closer and I saw that they were actually getting high. They were in uniform. They were supposed to be in school, but that was what they did. I tried to question some of them, but when you look at the red eyes of some of these kids, you just realize that if you don't just not careful, this is not just the and rest of them. I think the government has to do a lot of work. Our Ministry of Health needs to do a lot of work, Ministry of Information. This is time for us our social mobilization agencies need to do a lot of enlightenment work. Come to think of it, there was a time where we were told that about 2 million of codeine is being consumed in Kano alone. On a day.
You know, 5. Yes.
Even more than
5.
About 5 on a daily basis, for goodness sake.
Exactly.
That is high. And because of that is why we are having increase, just as rightly mentioned, in crime. Because most of these guys cannot do most of the things they do just for the fun of it. They get high first. When you arrest them, they will confess to you that they are under the influence of certain drugs.
Chrissy B, let me come to you on this. The point there is, he mentioned something. Young children, teenagers, who are supposed to be in school.
Yeah.
Well, if you say, okay, unemployment as far as the issue of the youth and society is concerned, these boys are still in school. What are they thinking about? What spurs them into? What's that motivating factor? What's that thing?
It boils down on the devaluation of our value system. But before I go there, the question she asked regarding availability, availability. We did a training with the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime on drug demand reduction in Nigeria. It proves that the drugs are available and they are reachable. That brings us to regulation, government regulation. You see, when the issue of tramadol is being publicly talked about, customs seizing some containers, releasing few containers
to NAFDAC.
These things are available. So a situation we don't have a cohesive government agencies, a kind of a synergy in operation. That is what we call the fusion.
All right. Like a comprehensive approach.
Yes, agency fusion. The fusion system in combating drug and substance abuse in Nigeria, definitely the drugs will continue to be available. We need a NAFDAC. We need an NDLA. We need the police. We need the customs to work in synergy to make sure that these things don't even. Because when there is demand, automatically there will be supply.
Yeah.
But when a supply is cut off, you see that definitely some people will since this thing is not coming anymore, they have to look there. But coming to the question you asked about young people in the school, going into doing doing drugs and stuff like that, it boils down on wrong values in the system. Nigeria is a country where we celebrate wrong values. Young people see our musicians They are influenced by all what they do. Most of our celebrities, the only way they can show you that they are celebrities today is by going into hard drugs, is going into...
or maybe portraying them
yeah,
in their
yes,
videos.
yes, of course.
Right.
That is the only thing that their mindset can build on. So young people, look, they are passionate. They have a kind of a stereotype mindset.
But then is there hope in sight to inculcate proper education now in this youth after such a, a long time, learning wrong values?
That is exactly why we are into, we serve as conscience of the society. The fact remains that we are not safe. That is the basic fact. We are not safe because a young man who is an addict, if he or she wants to actually satisfy his quest, can go any length. That instigates a robbery, pilfering within the family system. You see Shehu, Chidi, Musa coming back from school. Within the house, you see things missing. Funds, money missing here and there. Those things is what he uses to make sure that he gets these drugs, codeine.
Okay. Chris Mwandu, let me bring you in here. He mentioned the issue of music videos, and even there are movies and all of that. What impact is this having? Because we can't run away from the fact that the society is a mix of a lot of things. But we know that people are getting kind of enlightened with issues of movies and videos, depending on what messages are passed. But we have many music videos have infusion of issues of drugs, issues of alcohol, and all of that. What damaging impact is that having on young people?
It does. Big deal. I was in the music industry for over 7 years as the A&R manager of Sony Music. And I remember the day we came with Shina Peters.
Exactly. And we're dancing, dancing all over the place here.
I, as an A&R manager, promotions manager of Sony Music International then, that was a creed that we had, that certain things we don't allow to be integrated into any video, musical video we produce. It was a fact. Then we had recording companies. Now we no longer have recording companies. We have Sony Music, we have Absuri Music, we have Polygram. Those are well-structured recording companies with international affiliations. And there are certain creeds that you must follow in producing videos or musicals. Even with the so-called Louis music, I remember that. I remember when we did Obesere, was with us. I did OBTK, Mr. Teacher, and a lot of those songs and the rest of them. And even in his height of all these guys, we made sure that there are certain things.
So what is missing now?
What is missing now? There's no structure music
industry. If there was a structure at that time,
yes.
At what point did we?
That is what, because you know why? Because everything fell apart. Now every artist is a label owner, is a producer, is a marketer. There is no structure in place. That is why most of those artists you see, they are the producers of their own music. They produce their own videos and rest of them. So there's nobody regulating what they are doing. All we only do is that when it comes down the, NBC will now call, oh no, NTBB,
right.
This one, you understand that?
We are not even talking about the film and video censors.
Yeah, we've not even gone into the
in-house now.
In-house. Okay. So you start in-house, okay? There's supposed to be a clearing house for such.
Okay.
Before any video is released, or before any song, we're supposed to have a clearing house, okay? Before, even radio and TV stations.
Yes.
In those days, we used to do it. Before you put anything, I remember when we released Labgaja, Kulu Tempa, and we took it to a radio station. The first time we took it to a radio station, and we have to sit down and listen to each of those songs. In fact, out of all the songs we had, it was only about 3 that was approved for airing. Then, yes.
Wow.
And we stuck to it. But everything, look at this, what they are singing nowadays. apart from the drugs and rest of them, what of the moral aspect of it? You don't see any good musical video now without the ladies shaking and removing their distance. The guy singing is dressing properly, where the ladies that are dancing are the ones even going around. So there's a lot of social monumental issues to be addressed when it comes to
All
this.
right, let's compare with Chris Ibe now, especially with the moves that the government has made. We begin with the codeine ban, for example, now, but then analysts like yourself have also said, okay, codeine has been banned, but then there's an alternative in the market that is also prone to abuse, and these and other, worrying factors. How much of benefits now, how beneficial do you think this codeine ban is now? Are we scratching the surface, or is this part of the solution?
I think banning codeine is not actually the issue. Okay. It's not, because ab initio, codeine was not meant for abuse like what we are seeing here. It's a medicinal substance. If you have cough, normal Nigerians use it. Normal people use it.
We used to grow up having
yes. If you have cough,
and on the shelves,
yes.
When your cough is up,
yes, of course.
it can be on the shelf for the next 1 year.
Exactly. Your mother will give you. And I also want to tell you that the potency of codeine as medicine is still there. Is still there. So government banning codeine doesn't solve the issue. What we are talking about is it's a kind of it's a combination of factors. From the pharmaceutical council, from NAFDAC, regulation is the main thing. Beyond regulation, you also have the family aspect of it. Because as a father, as a parent, you should know. You should actually know what your child is doing. Your ability to monitor him from home to school, from school to home. There might be some little fallouts. But some of the challenges we have, too, that contributes to all these things, if you look at the survey, you will know that to a large extent, lack of parenting, quality parenting is also a problem, a factor. Broken homes is also a factor. Because at that chain, you cannot trace what this young man is doing at any point in time. In those days when we were sleeping, my mother would tell you, go and sleep. When we were growing, my mother would tell you, go and sleep. You will cry, say, I'm not feeling sleepy. She will tell you, go and sleep in the afternoon. That is siesta.
Exactly.
Right.
Siesta. So you now see that those regulations are no more there. What we need is enforcement. We have laws. Pharmaceutical council, are they doing their job? Regulating the pharmaceutical shops and stuff like that.
Let's even go into that now, Chris Ibe, because we are up against time. But when it comes to prevention, crime prevention, what are the strategies now? You've mentioned the family and government failing, but if strategies have to be activated, what are the strategies to really end or prevent crime? Because prevention is even better than cure, like they say.
Definitely. We have a couple of identified strategies, scientific proven strategies for prevention. One is advocacy, awareness campaign, because some of these young people are not even aware of the dangers and consequences associated with doing these drugs. Another one is legislation, laws, policies. You see, our government...
But don't we have enough laws already?
No, that is exactly what I'm trying to say. Our government are paying lip service when it comes to the fight against drug and substance abuse. Because those who promote these drugs are ahead of government. You cannot tell me that NDLA, as big as NDLA, their staff strength is within 5 to 6,000. As big as NDLA, their staff strength. So what is their budget? These are some of the things when you are talking about drugs. And again, we should, as a nation, remove the fight against drugs within the law enforcement. That is, we should not make it an enforcement issue, because it is also now a health issue.
Okay. All right, let's conclude the interview now with Chris Nwandu, especially with the issue of black markets and all that. So much has been said from both of you, but then tackling what occurs in the black market. The Kano example now that you both revealed now, no thanks to the black market. Are we talking enough about that?
Yes, I think what we need to do is also, just as mentioned, the government agencies need to up their game. Most of these drugs, in terms of regulation, these guys get them not from registered pharmacists, quote and unquote. All over the place, you have what we call chemists. Not pharma. You know, there's a difference between chemists and pharma, according to the Nigerian parliament. So people go to chemists, not to pharma, because there are certain drugs, when you need them, if you go to a pharmacy, it will ask you for a prescription. Yeah. So if you don't have a prescription, that means I just go to a pharmacy. So I'm having the pharmacy just asks me, you have a prescription? I say, what do you mean by it? They say, no, I can't give it to you. You must give me a prescription.
But that is even within when the pharmacist or the pharmacy is owned by a pharmacist to qualify, because there are also middlemen, businessmen.
So regulation is very, very key. That is one. Two is also enlightenment, as you mentioned. Third one is also the family value. People to start talking to their children, back to base. It starts from the family. You should be able to know what your son is doing. You should be able to know if your son comes back from school, a kid or whatever, it's for you to find out what is in his bag. Try to know the kind of people he's associating and the rest of them. Are you even sure that the son that is going to school is actually in school? In school? You see them roaming around the whole place. So it's a very long chain.
Yeah, Mike, we should not forget, let me be realistic to you, we should not forget funding.
Okay.
You see, for government agencies to enforce, go for operations, raiding, capture all these black market dealers, the funds must be provided. A situation whereby government agency, I'm talking about NDLA because we are accredited to NDLA. Okay. So we work very, very close to them. When you go to Shore Road, you see the offices. You go to Abuja, you see you now just tell yourself that, look, is it an agency that will fight a multi-trillion crime cartel, the drug? MDLA is not equipped for that. And that is why we call on government to, let me say, government, say yes, do your responsibilities. Recruit staff. We are over 180 million population. So you cannot say 5,000 manpower.
With the terrain, Nigerian terrain?
Abuja alone, Abuja is less than 1,000. Okay. How can? It's not possible.
Yeah, we have to leave it here now, but this is an issue that we all have to, and like both of you have agreed, the family really, we have to start from there before it even gets to the school and then the government.
The church too, the faith-based institutions too, has a role to play.
Chris Ibe, Executive Director and Founder of Africa Youth Initiative on Crime Prevention. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Mike.
And Chris Nwandu, CEO, CKN News, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to see you.